you're not doing what you're called to do, you're just not going to be fulfilled. You won't feel the fulfillment. But when you start to understand and move in that calling, then you are definitively fulfilled, and you begin to carry out the assignment that God has for you. So notice again, 4 phases of ministry. Right underneath that is number 1 is what? Calling. The second one is what? Separation. The next one is what? Preparation. And then the releasing. Okay. And so I just want to kind of highlight the different giftings. Number 1, the apostle. What is an apostle? An apostle is literally who God calls to primarily to do a lot of equipping and sending of the church. Again, there's wherever there's truth, there's always a counterfeit. Wherever there's a real gift, there's always a counterfeit gift. So there's false prophets, there's false teachers, there's false apostles, there's false, all those things. And it's just like, I like to describe it this way. The only reason why they make counterfeit money is because there's real money. Right. If there wasn't real money, there would not be any counterfeit money. Nobody would try to make counterfeit. So Satan is the same way. The only way that he tries to use people to be a counterfeit, because God has a real in the earth. And when you see the real, you'll see the fruit of what the real produces, or the genuine produces, in every area. And so we're gonna dive a little bit deeper. The apostle will do a lot of equipping and sending. Their whole job is to set order in the church, is to equip the church, to equip every believer to do the works of Jesus, just like we explained, according to Mark 16, these signs shall follow them that believe in my name, shall they cast out devils, they shall speak with new tongues, they shall lay hands on the sick, they shall recover, be able to preach and teach the word. Apostles, can walk in the church and look at the church and discern the move of the Spirit. They can say everything that's in order, everything that's out of order, suggest, if you make these corrections, if you do this, if you do that, and if that's listened to, if that counsel is received and given, you'll see the fruit of it automatically. Amen. Just with our exchange, Pastor Allen and I, when I walked into there and discerned some things, saw some things, we met, we talked, and he was like, let's do it. Wisdom, the wisdom of God kicked in, that this needs to take place. This equipping needs to take place. Amen. So that we can begin to function in divine order, so that we can see divine results. And as a result, that's exactly what's even happening. It's happening. Why? Because of that true mantle. Again, you can't put yourself in an office. You can't say, well, I'm this or I'm that. But God has to put you there, and we're going to see that more. Amen. But and a prophet, what does a prophet do? A prophet gives voice and direction, the destiny, interprets the will and the purpose and the move of God. Prophets, again, they hear the voice of God, but every believer hears the voice of God. Just know that. My sheep hear my voice, and the stranger's voice they will not follow. So every believer hears the voice of God, but prophets in particular, they hear the voice of God, they get the direction of God, they get destiny, they can speak into your destiny, they can release things, they can open the heavens up over an atmosphere or over a person's life. When a prophet begins to prophesy, literally something that no matter how long Satan has held that person in bondage or hindrance or whatever, when a prophet speaks, they open up the realm of the Spirit. Whatever they decree, it is literally established. A true prophetic gifting. And there is a foretelling. We think prophecy is just, it's always the future telling. There is an element of that, but there's a lot of prophetic teaching and preaching where there's insight, there's revelation into what you're seeing. Like you never saw it, and then all of a sudden you see it. Why? Because when a prophet is ministering, it opens up the heaven, and all of a sudden you start to gain insight and wisdom and revelation. Prophets can discern the flow of the Spirit. They can begin to discern that God is moving this way and not that way. Sometimes you're sitting in a service and you know that God wants to do so much more, but you know that person, that man or woman of God, they're following a script. Okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're not varying. And you know that God is like, no, come over here, follow me this way, follow me that way. And they refuse to do it. If they haven't been. Prophets can do that. Prophets can look up, sit in the church, and a part of the prophetic is prophetic intercession, where intercessors who are prophetic, can literally begin to pray. They'll see things, they'll know things that without anybody telling them, they'll be able to discern what's happening in a church, maybe in the pastor's lives or other people's lives within the church. Nobody told them nothing, but a true prophetic gifting, they'll just automatically know things. They'll want to address the things that nobody else is addressing. Amen. Like, how come, that demon-possessed person is manifesting every time in the service and nobody's, am I the only one who say that? That's, and again, you can be prophetic without being a prophet, but if you're a prophet, you're going to have certain gifts manifesting in your life in frequency. And you're going to have at least 2 of the revelation gifts. There are 9 gifts of the Spirit. You might want to take some notes on this, but 9 gifts of the Spirit: utterance, power, and revelation gifts. The utterance gifts are gifts of the Spirit that literally say something. It's prophecy, tongues, and interpretation of tongues. Again, it's three categories of the giftings, and the 3 categories of the giftings is the utterance gifts, the power gifts, and the revelation gifts. The utterance gifts are gifts that say something. It's tongues, interpretation of tongues, and prophecy, the simple word of prophecy. Prophecy is for exhortation, edification, and comfort, according to 1 Corinthians 14:3. In other words, a prophetic word that comes forth, it will always edify you, will build you up. So if somebody's prophesying to you, oh, you're going to die, and I saw, you just getting in this horrible car accident, and if they're prophesying doom and gloom over you, that's not prophecy. Tell them, keep it for yourself. I can't tell you how many parking lot prophets who tried to come up to me and tell me that, I see you and your wife going through this horrible time. Y'all gonna be divorced and did. Wow. That's been 20 years ago. They still ain't married. I've been married to my wife. This February we coming up 29 years, and we are just in love, head over heels. Head over heels. We have an awesome marriage. And so, again, like I said, there's always a counterfeit, but there is a real. And so the real will understand that. So again, back to the gifts, the utterance, the power that revelation gives. A true prophet will always have at least 2 revelation gifts. What are the revelation gifts? The revelation gifts are the word of wisdom, the word of knowledge, and discerning of spirits. What is the word of wisdom? Where God will begin to show you something about a person that's going on, or a situation that's going on currently, or will take place in the future. The word of knowledge is where God will begin to show you things that's happened in a person's past. And so you will either have a word of wisdom or word of knowledge, or you will have discerning of spirits. Discerning of spirits is discerning things in the realm of the spirit. Discerning not just a human spirit, but discerning and seeing into the realm of the spirit. When the discerning of spirits is in operation, that gift is in operation, you will begin to see into the realm of the spirit. You'll see angels, or you'll see demons, or you'll see the true, things that are taking place in the realm of the spirit. You'll literally, like, although your physical eyes are open, it's almost as if the scales are pulled back and you begin to see into the spirit also. So you're seeing to 2 worlds at the same time. And it's happened to me, that gift has been in operation in my life, a number of times. And when it happens, I've been there seeing a person or walking, and all of a sudden, I don't only see the person, but I see the demon inside the person. It's happened a few times, and all of you're like, wow. And sometimes I've seen him looking back at me like, okay, I see you, are you looking at me? Whatever. But when that gift is in operation, you're going to get it. But prophets will have at least 2 of those gifts operate in their life with a lot of frequency. Like, it'll happen all the time. Like, they'll just see it. They'll walk in a room, or sometimes they may see a spirit that's on the building, or whatever else. Or, I've been flying into cities, and I know that I've been being challenged by the principality over that city, because I could feel the whole atmosphere shift and change in the sun automatically. And in the minute, things will happen to let me know that spirit knows that I'm there. But hey, I'm here too, and I didn't come alone. I came with something backing me, and it's called Holy Ghost. So that's a prophet. They give voice, they give direction, they interpret the will, the purpose, the move of God. Evangelists like the birth babies into the kingdom. They always want to get people saved. Wherever they go,
Amen.
People get saved. Like, they always witnessing to people. They go to the grocery store. They lead the store clerk to the grocery store. They lead them to the Lord. You know, they go to the bank. They talk to the they lead them to the Lord. You know, as wherever they go, if they get in a taxi, they lead the taxi or the Uber driver to the Lord. Wherever they sit on the person next in a plane, and by the time they get to where they're going, the person's saved. Like, they literally, and they just see it as natural. Like, that, man, like, that's not like, oh, that's just, everybody's supposed to do it. And every believer is supposed to lead people to the Lord, but an evangelist will have a real strong mantle or anointing on their life or presence to draw people and win people to the Lord all the time. And evangelists, most of the times, they look at other people like, you're lazy, you're out of touch, you don't understand, how can you say you're saved and you're not witnessing to everybody that you see. The largest churches that you see, particularly in America, for the most part, and in larger parts of the world, you could see that there's probably an evangelist who leads that church, because many times their primary gifting of evangelism is very dominant, and so they teach. You teach what you know, but you impart who you are. So they impart evangelism so much into the people, and every church should be evangelizing. But if you have a church there's a primary gifting of an evangelist over that church or that ministry, you're going to always see that church growing and increasing, and a lot of people coming in and constantly getting saved. You're going to see that with a lot more frequency than you would in any other church or ministry, because of that gifting of evangelism, that gift of the evangelist. And you know, and it's not always in the church. Sometimes, you know, there are a lot of evangelists who are just out ministering and constantly winning people to the Lord. You know, and I've been privileged to know a number of people who just have, you know, they'll lead 30 to 40 people to the Lord in a week, like, just like that, like, without even trying. But that's just, you can tell that they are definitively, they have the mantle of an evangelist. The next one is a pastor, shepherd. Pastor, which is also referred to as shepherd. Jesus is called the good shepherd. Pastors, they nurture, they comfort, they care, they feed, they comfort and protect the sheep. They want to make sure that the sheep are protected. They're comforted. They're nurtured. Hey, are you okay? Is everything okay? I didn't see you in church last week. Is everything okay? You know, they're constantly wanting to love and gather the sheep and make sure everybody's okay. They want to nurture you and make sure you're good and you're happy, and, you know, pet you and make, you know, that they're concerned about the sheep. And so, you know, if you have a mantle for pastoring, which is, you know, very necessary. People need to be loved. They need to know they're cared for. They need to know that somebody's concerned about them, that they, you know, they want to see them accomplish the will of God for their life. And so that's so necessary. And not only the pastor should be pastoring, but when you have people in your church who have a pastoral mantle on them, the people are going to feel loved. They're going to feel connected. They're going to feel they're part of the house. They're going to feel that, like, they're actually somebody cares and loves to them, and that nurturing makes such a big difference. You know, as we travel and minister in different places and go to different churches and so forth, you know, you can tell the pastoral mantle that's on certain people, because those will always be the ones who come and love you. Hey, are you okay? It's good to see you. You know, they'll love you and hug on you, constantly doing that. And that's an environment that should be fostered in the church. And we've seen the exact same opposite, where there's no pastoral mantle at all. The church is run by an evangelist. And so they just count the numbers of how many people can get saved, and how many we can get saved, and how many we can get saved. But the people that are there actually feel neglected. They feel that they're not, you know, that they're not loved, that they just go to church and they're just a number and so forth. And so it's very necessary that you have pastors in churches. And again, in where we are now, it's kind of like a one-man show where the pastor does everything. But you'll see, and as you're beginning to see, even as I'm beginning to talk about this, it was never designed to be that way. And that's why you have, you know, 3,000 to 4,000 pastors a month leading the ministry, because it was never designed to be a one-man show. God always intended in the New Testament church always had all five of them operating and functioning together. Because they did, everybody understood everybody's role, and the church grew up healthy, and everybody was equipped, strengthened, encouraged. Everybody did the work of the ministry. But when you have like the one-man pastor show who tries to do everything for everybody and then you get burnout, you get an unhealthy church, you get off balance, you get all of the stuff that Satan intends for it to be. And that's why he works overtime to keep the church in this one-man paradigm deal, as opposed to God's original intent that we see in Scripture of how the church should be functioning. And so, being a pastor, having pastored myself for years, and understanding why I suffered burnout, why all of the things that I can boldly teach now, because it's not just head knowledge now. I lived it. Like, I lived it, so I know. I've seen what's effective, I've seen what's not effective, and I've seen churches who function under the proper biblical New Testament function that I'm sharing with you now. That's, why is it explosive? Why is it reaching millions of people around the globe? Because God is always going to bless what He ordains.